Back from vacation, feel a little recharged, refreshed, and I still gotta read this shit, don't I? Okay, fine. Let's keep going. After all, we're 28 chapters in of a 56 chapter story. Which means I'm already halfway done with this. I can handle this. I can lose my mind. I could go crazy. I could dance if I want to. I could dance. I could leave your friends behind. But if your friends don't dance, then they're no friends of mine. To tell some pony that they're thinking with their mark is not a compliment. To tell somebody that they're thinking with their dick is. The mark is meant to guide. Over the centuries, many ponies have testified that their marks occasionally whisper to them. Although whisper is simply the most common term used for communication which takes place without words. Whisper, of course, knew this, and she sighed, looking at the little present in her hand. She wondered, was it a good present? Did it actually show her love for her best friend, her girlfriend, the girl who meant everything to her? Taking a deep breath, she headed the object over to Tangle, her eyes closed. Here, she said, hoping Tangle would appreciate the little pair of mittens just for her, and a tail warmer for her tail, freshly knitted. Tangle looked at it, smiled, and went, Whisper, this was the greatest gift you could have given me. She then wrapped up Whisper in her tail and gave her a big hug before looking into the wolf's eyes and giving her a delicate little kiss on the lips. Just about every pony goes through a touch of it in their early years, while the adults rarely shake their heads. And I wonder, could I read a random paragraph from here and would you guys even notice anymore if I just started reading randomly from here? Would it make just as much sense as if I did that? Hmm? Consider the case of Forsey Landum. One day, Forsey decided that he wished to tackle a particularly challenging topic. So his talent did its usual job, and led him down dark paths and most shadowed of alleys, leading him stumbling into what had been hidden workshops, right until the moment he had tripped onto a secret lever, and eventually had him talking to ponies who only spoke once, at the end of that escalating into a final scream. Before he survived every encounter, for his talent was remarkably strong, and the pony who had fallen in it was just remarkably stupid. He told us who he meant he was doing. At least once the gag had been removed, so he could let out what otherwise would have been his final words. But would perpetually be musically curious to see the results of his work. Once he encountered would let him go. Also, a few words of advice on how to approach the next destination. Some even provided spells and protective supplies. More than a few followed from a distance for a while. One who carried idiocies on that level, it was hard away. He thought that this was a good idea. Forsey's Guides to Dangerous Devices had an initial print run of 200 copies. As with his other publications, he attempted to distribute a number of those to the libraries at the university, for surely that was where any collection of knowledge belonged, but never got very far with that intent. Because, as it turned out, all those he met along the road, who had been so helpful to him, wished for repayment for their advice. Not much, just a personal copy or two. It went right along great with their crossing the will of the week with no remorse. After all, a pony who was capable of providing them a comprehensive list of such devices, not to mention some rather detailed guides to their personal creation, was probably a pony who you wanted researching on your own behalf. So they paid for their copies, a number tipped handily. There was a gigantic earth-shattering fight over who got him next, which Forties rarely noticed. Then the survivors pressed their hoses on his way, happy at the chance to put their newfound knowledge to work. After all, it wasn't as if any pony put their number everything needed into a single falling before. Ultimately, once all the flames were put out and most of the classroom desks were rendered inanimate again, Forsyth was recruited by the palace to be its head researcher, a position he held until the day he died at his desk. Because when you learn about some pony that stupid, you need to put them where you can keep an eye on 'em. While his last pre-government work was never actually banned, nearly all copies of The Guide were destroyed. Those in the palace and archives were allowed to survive, for the book was truly the most comprehensive work ever seen. It was knowledge that some pony was eventually going to need, only how to stop the results. I believe that a few copies might still exist in private collections, but if so, the owners are staying quiet, Every so often, a surviving volume turns up press between some pony's hosts. As long as their field doesn't start trying to work with Chapter 1 and beyond, they'll probably be alright. Unless some pony with, shall we say, a more practical need for the information finds out who has it. We're going back to ponies for a bit. Tony had been in the presence of a guide twice. With both due guide, actually, due to relative permission of the princess. Her total allotted reading time had been 31 minutes. Due to some substances he hated, skinned, but a fair portion had been retained. Oh, kind of like what I was doing? Like I've been doing, just skimming you, hoping and praying that I get to the ending. Sooner or later, seeing the bright sunny day that I would finally be, given a chance to survive. When would I be forgiven? She never seen a real snitcher. She wanted to. Those magical knowledge which could be acquired at the time she had decided to learn. Try had been very close to completely falling into her own mark, potentially lost beyond any pony's ability to pull her back. She had been thinking about making a second request. Maybe she'd just been happy to wander through the palace, felt particularly interested in gathering her thumbs in a given direction. And then she met them. It they were a very pale pony with light pink mane and a pink coat and a long black coat over them. They looked at Twilight and went, "Oh, I'm so sorry." That's when a peppy earth pony mare with cute little blonde pigtails popped up and went, "Oh, sorry, I needed to pick up Corona. Come on." Yep, we're going there. Solely your jokes. The rapidly following once he had been seen hours got to Ponyville, and in time, 5 ponies and one other Earth pony. Oh my god. Did I write Spike for the timeline? Yes, I did. Oh, she was still curious. Always be. But curiosity had been tempered. She would seek knowledge because it was needed, not for the sake of having it and figuring out how it could be applied. She had never seen an actual Stitcher. And after a while, she stopped at what you made Twilight would never, ever stop looking for knowledge. A Micah Twilight, sure, but not canon Twilight. Twilight was still staring at the Snitcher, and nearly every last tenth of her wanted to stop. It was, in its way, beautiful. Fortice's sketches had been in simple black ink. He ran down the necessary materials, what colors and the results should be, but now truly captured the shine of the gold. The sun so blotched by the steadily increasing clouds, there seemed to have been. Hey, Pegasi, could you mind stopping with the darkening clouds? Oh, sorry. But that by itself, it could almost be jewelry. It had been made of jewelry, all the better to keep warm. Twa! Applebot was starting to pace somewhat, and none of it involved true movement. The farmer's hooves were basically going up and down before re-impacting their own prints, localized very nervous dance. I think you've got to start talking here. How does it stop a mark? It tells the bunny who to put it on when a mark is supposed to come. This thing can tell what the future's going to be. The head sync was automatic, and it made the memories of her skimming vibrate with named vision. No, that doesn't make sense. It did the mark like that. A pony's cutie mark is supposed to represent that what makes it special. It's supposed to be what you're good at. It's supposed to determine your special talent. You can't just say, "Hey, you're especially good at this." There's no way you can predict something like that. In order to do that, you would have to be very, very good at divination magic. But even then, that would give you a small portent. This would just be silly. I don't know how the spells work, Applebot. Mark magic is deep, deep magic. Some of the deepest there is. The princess didn't let me study it for a long time, and we all know how well mine tried to work out. Well, it wasn't really like that, but I know how the ponies who abused it operated. You just feel how close the mark is, and you feel it rising, and then you. That's horrible, Emo Pinky whispered. That's one of the worst things I ever heard in my whole life. Good. How could any point do that to a child? It would. And Moisture began to coat the blue eyes. It would make you deaf and mute, and you wouldn't even be able to find your mark. You know, Pinky? Firefly was already moving towards her. You okay? I thought. I didn't have my magic, Fluttershy, any of it. I thought I wouldn't get my mark either. Because if one thing was wrong, then maybe everything was. Or even exploded across the sky. She looked at me with wet eyes. Thanks. Um, I was just set things off. It was my rainbow. I didn't pick what you saw in it. Pinky, you reacted. It's your mark. Your destiny. Oh god, I can't believe I'm actually saying these lines. Anyway. Yeah, that's he's saying. It's just the right size for rarity stone. Twilight once wanted to see a snisser, and now that she was looking at one, she mostly wanted to vomit all over the grass. Free positive ponies can't do that. Exactly the right size, and everybody, give me a little space. Let me think. She wore this on her foreleg. When she stumbled and sat down, she stood again. Then she found herself flying around in a Green Lantern uniform. Oh, thank goodness the real rarity isn't here. It was just a cardboard cutout. She wore it for years. It was pretty much part of her. Applebot forced a breath. At some point, went and put this on themselves, it would tell them how close their own mark was. So I nodded. But she wore it for years. All when she was first on put it on. Flex. Applebot, she would have had to make the decision to try so early. Fluttershy's voice was quiet. It generally was. But this time, the words were barely audible. Was he its words across treasury? Let somebody decide for her. Twice stopped circling. Everybody else stopped breathing. We were talking about it. There could have been somebody else. We've been thinking that she wanted this to change, have friends or partners, or ponies who could help her. But what if the worst seemed still to take all the caretaker's strength, and after each emergency strength to be had, somebody taught her in the first place to put it on, to try everything, to change, and one of it wasn't her decision. Twilight always was somebody else. And that pony, Emo Pinky harshly declared, every word intended as a road carving kick against an unknowing target, would be the worst pony in the world. You heard her, how she talked about herself, defective, broken. Some pony made her believe that. Easy. It's something we have to think about, even if we don't want to. It tells her, or somebody else, how close she is to her mark. Why are they measuring that? Funsies! Noriko frowned with careful thought. Because she was studying? She was learning all the magics, maybe trying to help her learn to be an alicorn, so when a mark came, it'll be a mark for just being an alicorn and manifest the chains? Is that even possible? No. For the mission, I would have said no. I'm still saying no. That's just silly. That's just ridiculous. How could you even get a mark for that? Why would you get a mark? Mark! Next chapter! Twilight, are you sure you want to do that? I mean, I don't care anymore. Really? A magical device that delays getting a mark that we're putting on Chi in order to delay her getting her talent. This is no, no. We're doing the next chapter. Okay, Twilight, next chapter. You know, this is not a bad chapter, but while we're here, yes, it'll make you go faster. There's a new Spyro game coming out next year. Hmm. Well, I would do that, but you see, I don't like Spyro games. You are an evil chapter! The first thing to do after having won the world shattered would be something small. Like, say, Yahtzee. For the most part, it was wisdom he had passed through, providing the opportunity to follow it. A mother would lose her full in spite of everything he could do, and had done, much more than he suspected, even Quiet knew, remembered every name, and tried to keep track of how their lives were progressing. A spouse would learn that no pony would ever follow him out of the birthing room. And when the cursing stopped and tears slowed and kicks finally ended, he would tell them to mix a cup of wake-up juice. Sit down with a form, simply staring at it for a time. There was no need to try filling it out. He admitted weak of death. Such was a cruelty only a coordinator might have relished. And so he generally did all the paperwork and lost for himself, sparing his survivors what little torment he could. Take control would have been his fate, although that would generally be one he had to follow. You know, folks, I think I know why I'm getting so bored with some of these notes from Quiet. I really just do not care about this character. And I mean it. Nothing. They do nothing for me. I have seen villains like Red Eye and Titan, manipulators, callous creatures with little care for anything else. And these guys are just nothing more than a bunch of bland mustache twirlers who are sitting by and doing a very, very old plot in we want to make an alicorn. Oh, look, they have these magical stones which can store magic and are able to help create a device that can stop a cutie market, blah, 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 blah. A little too late. If this fic had been shorter, if this fic had taken its time to actually develop these ideas earlier and maybe cut out some of the extraneous chapters, I would be fine. But no, no, I don't care about these guys. And this plot is dragging its feet. I would have cared about the mystery about a few chapters ago, but as it stands, I am just looking at how fast I can make sure I can go through this before I grab, say, an arcade strike fic type of main defense. There's also the Sailor Moon fic with Wonder Woman in it that I made a promise to myself to finish one day. I really want to get back to it. Meanwhile, I wonder how Rarity's doing. I am wet. And that's all I need to know. Oh, ha ha ha, very funny. I'll just leave the Coppola cut have to handle the rest of the dialogue. I apologize, Rarity. I'll pay extra for the next dress. You better. That choke was beneath you. Seriously, is there anything going on in the rest of this chapter that I need to know? He's not a monster. Okay, problem solved. See you next time.